So welcome back to another episode, and in this one I thought I'd do some old school anime recommendations. Now I got a lot of DVDs. I went to my DVD shelf and grabbed all the ones that I really like. Now please understand there's a lot of old school anime that I don't have on the table today, that I have on Blu-ray, I have all over the place, but these are just some of the ones I brought out. I've seen a lot of old school stuff. I don't have Bubble Crisis on here. It's on Blu-ray in the other room, or, I don't have Cowboy Bebop here. That's in the other room on Blu-ray. I'm watching that. I'm halfway through watching that. So I just thought I'd list a whole bunch of old school stuff that maybe some people have heard about, some people haven't. So let's start with this. When I came back from England when I was 21, I went to a local anime store, and they were nice enough to record a copy of this, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. Have any of you guys ever seen this? This is fucking great stuff. Now, it's a 2-hour film. It's got a lot of blood and guts, a lot of violence. It's everything you want. But I really want to say this. There was a Street Fighter V, TV show that wasn't bad. But the movie really is a great representation of Street Fighter 2, the game. It really does. It's really authentic to the characters and how they all are meeting each other and fighting each other. And there's a lot of characters that are only on the screen for a short amount of time, and you're like, damn, I'd like to see more of them. But I can't recommend this movie enough. You gotta check it out. If you like Street Fighter 2, the original, and you're like, I'd like to see something based on that, this is what you get. This is the uncut, uncensored, unleashed animated version. Now, when I also came back from England, there was another anime that truly inspired me. It really did. It was called Otaku no Video. It's really the unofficial biography of Gainax, and it kind of is in a lot of ways. Otaku culture, and otaku is a word that you don't really hear much anymore. It's about, hardcore fanatics, and it takes place with a couple of friends who are hardcore anime fanatics in this, and then they decide to quit their jobs and start, getting into the anime industry and creating toy kits and then animated films. It's a total farce. It's about really what it's really about is about one guy who's a normal human being until he gets into the evil world of anime and how it corrupts him and how he comes back from that corruption. It is funny. It really hits me right here for this one because I was this kind of obsessive fan. I still am. I love anime to death, and this was something I could relate to. And I know this is a really big deal. There was a Kickstarter for this to come on Blu-ray. I think the Blu-ray will be released in a couple of weeks' time, so that's really exciting. But Otaku no Video is one that I really recommend. It shows you old school anime culture, and there's a lot to go on. I could spend an hour about this. Maybe when the Blu-ray comes out, I'll really get into it. Okay, back in the day, my two favorite things in the world, before I really got into the world of women, was anime and Dungeons and Dragons. And the Japanese did an incredible thing. They brought them together. They brought them together into one package, and that was called Record of Lotus War. And you can just see the influences from Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons. It's the Japanese take on all of that, and it's so fucking great. The first 5 minutes of the first OVA, because it's an OVA series, is so cool. It's something right out of Dungeons and Dragons where they're sneaking into the shrine and all the creatures are coming to life and they're fighting them, and they capture Dungeons and Dragons so well in Record of Lotus War. Just watch the first episode. Really, it's really good. Okay, Gundam. I always say Gundam. There's so much Gundam these days. It's hard for anybody who's just kind of getting into the series for the first time. It's like, where do I fit into this great, crazy universe? I'll tell you where to start. If you've never watched Gundam in your life, start with 0080. It's just a very small OVA series. Oh, this is I could fucking really go on about this. In they're basically, this all takes place in a side colony where there's a colony of humans living. There's a war between the Earth Federation and the Zion. That's what's going on in the universe at the time. And this young boy is caught in the middle of it. And it's from his perspective on war. And oh my god, it's one of those animes that I had tears at the end. If you can watch this anime, get to the end, and you don't have a tear, or you're not emotionally moved, then that's incredible. Because it's a hell of a story. And I'm recommending all these because I really love them a lot. Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. Child's perspective on war. And it's what he thought about war at the beginning, what he thinks about war in the end, and what all of his friends think, and what happens to him, how he gets involved in the conflict. Oh, I get shivers thinking about it. I really do. Now, if you finish that and you're like, that was great, Gundam 0083. This is fucking excellent. This is where Zion, there's a lot of people pronounce it all over, many different types of ways, has captured one of the Earth, Federation's, Gundam suits, GP02. And an unlikely pilot gets into GP01 and has to go after it. The problem with GP2 is it has like a nuclear warhead launcher on it, and it's fucking epic. This is Gundam in an incredible war setting with heavy stakes. Heavy stakes. Things happen. Many people die. And what a great, small love story going on in there, but what a great war story. And that's what I like about these Gundams. Very, very heavy war stories. And if you're really in the mood after that, you're like, fuck, I can't get enough of this shit. Gundam MS Team. It's like Gundam meets Vietnam. Yeah, that really about sums it up. And really great mecha suits. Me and my friends collected the models when we were younger, and I can't recommend that one enough. That's really good stuff. A couple I've already recommended on the show a few times. Megazone 2-3. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. They're different OVAs, sometimes by different artists, encompassing the same story. My favorite is Part 1 and Part 2. Part 3 kind of goes its own different direction, but if you want to know something about this, it influenced The Matrix. The guys who did The Matrix, now they're women, but they were influenced by The Matrix, and to make The Matrix from Megazone. Megazone is what inspired them. Yeah, one of their influences. Mattox Zero One. This is a great fun. This is really the beginnings of a lot of anime for me. This is when I was really starting to get into it, and about a boy who by accident gets in a mecha suit, and all hell breaks loose. And it sounds like a very stereotypical story now, but for me, in the beginning of anime, this was very fresh and very original. Speaking of very fresh and very original, comes a movie I talked about, I think, in my top 10 animated films of all time. Royal Space Force, Wings of Animis. It's about a fictional planet, and it's about an astronaut, one of the first astronauts into space on this planet. And it's about a war that's going on at the time, and I talked about it before, but the attention to detail in Wings of Animis, I swear to God, is still being studied by scientists to this day. I have never seen an anime world that is so completely created. I gotta say, Cowboy Bebop's world is really a beautiful thing to look into. But Wings of Animis creates this fictional past of a world that doesn't exist. I mean, down to the forks and knives that the characters use are so different and unique, and the clothing designs, the architecture of this world. It's never mind the story of our main character, who is a flawed character. he is aspiring to be a good man, a good guy, who falls short in a couple of very controversial scenes. Highly recommend Wings of Animis. I've seen it, it must be over 100 times or something like that. I don't know anymore. Now we get into something that I love, as many of you guys know. I'm wearing a shirt here, Macross World 2015. And that would be the original Macross TV show that was originally broadcast in Japan in 1982. And this was brought out a few years ago. I don't know how it got past Harmony Gold holding the rights to Macross, but Anime Ego was able to release the entire Japanese version subtitles on, subtitled on DVD. And I was lucky. I went to Blockbuster Video, then they were closing it down. These were all in there for $5 each. And if anybody remembers when these first came out, I think it was a couple $100 to buy all the DVDs. It was crazy. And I was able to get all the DVDs of the original, which is saying something, because we've only ever seen in this country Robotech. The Harmony Gold translated Robotech, which is an slightly altered version of Macross. But what is Macross all about? It's too huge to get into. It's about an alien ship that lands on Earth. Human beings back engineer it, realize that it's a race of giants, a warlike race of giants that have created the ship, or it comes from, and they back engineer it and create their own mecha suits to fight a possible oncoming onslaught from this alien race, which eventually shows up to find its ship that crashed on Earth. And there's incredible Valkyries of transforming fighter planes. A love triangle goes on in the story. It's also a story of aliens seeing human culture for the first time. There is a lot going on in this anime. And in 1984, they took everything that was great in the TV series, they squished it down, at the time gave it state-of-the-art graphics, animation techniques, and they created Macross Do You Remember Love, the movie. I've got this on multiple copies of Blu-rays, I got DVDs, I got Laserdiscs of this movie. My all-time favorite animated film ever. Now, it is confusing for anybody who's never seen the TV show. When they jump into the movie, they're like, holy shit, what the hell is going on here? It's really intended for people who are fans of the TV series. They wanted more. And it's really an unusual movie because they redo everything in the movie. The flight suits, the characters, the Macross itself, which is the main alien ship. They changed the look of that. They changed the flight suits, as I say, the mecha. They're all Strike Valkyries now. It's really a time of war, and they just start you right in the middle of the story. And you're just supposed to kind of know what's going on. And if you watch the TV series, it's meant for a Japanese audience in 1984. It's not meant for us now. It's meant for 1984. 1985, my mom asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I'm like, can I rent a movie? And we went up and we had a beta player. I've talked about this before in my Anime Rocks video from years ago. We rented this movie. I'd always seen it on the shelf. It's called Galaxy Express 999 or 999. I didn't even know what it was, but I'm like, oh my god, it's anime. And this is when I was first watching Robotech. And I brought this movie home and I sat in the basement on my own and I saw... So, when you're a kid and you watch something really adult and you're like, oh my god, it really expands your mind. Galaxy Express did that. I'd never seen an animated film that was so mature and so intense. In the first 5 minutes, you're the main young kid, you find out that his mother was killed by robots. And they hung her body up over the fireplace as a trophy. It sets the setting. It really sets the setting of the entire journey. And it's creepy. I remember sitting in that basement experiencing all these emotions. I was wincing a bit and cringing and going, oh my god, I can't. But I loved every minute of it because it was like nothing I'd ever seen in this country. We had Looney Tunes. Folks. That's all we had back then. So to see a mature movie like Galaxy Express was like, holy shit. It blew my fucking mind. And I've watched this movie multiple times. Usually on my birthday now, every birthday, I like to watch Galaxy Express. It takes me back to a simpler time in my life. I remember there was a club in town. It was in Victoria, a little island off the shores of Vancouver here. And I sent in a beta tape, and I got this back one day. They recorded this for me. They were a great club. I'll never forget them. The original Dirty Pair Project Eden. Do you guys remember these characters? Kai and Yuri? They worked for the was it WWA? The World Work Welfare Association? That's off the top of my head. But they solved crimes and like political problems, and if there was anything going wrong, they would send them there and they would solve it. They were that kinds of characters. And Project Eden was one of those animated films I saw that, again, was just making me fall in love more and more with anime. Everything I was watching back then, I became obsessed with it. And it's a great, if you've never seen The Dirty Pair, watch Project Eden. It's a great 80s anime film. It's a lot of fun. It's about a mad scientist that creates a lot of crazy alien monsters, and it's about these characters dealing with it. And that really means that they get in these incredible battle suits with guns, and they're blowing the shit out of these aliens. And I was just rooting for it. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. It was like, for me, it was like seeing aliens in anime form. That good. Now, another really incredible anime, Gunbuster, Aim for the Top. Now, has anybody ever seen this? I think a few of you have, but it's a long forgotten anime now. Isn't that weird? I remember when this was brand new out. I'm that old. But it's a really great story. It's about, I have to kind of talk a little bit bigger about the story here, is that this is kind of nuts. That there's an alien infestation attacking our solar system, our galaxy, and it'll come in a bunch of years. But what that means is that they figured out that in the universe, the human race is like a bacteria, and the antibodies are coming to destroy the bacteria. The human race, Earth, is a bacteria, and the universe has a way of cleansing this bacteria, which to us would seem like aliens, but they're just giant entities that wipe out, bacteria. So the human race realizes, holy shit, we're gonna get fucking wiped out of the universe. We better do something about this. So they build this incredible device called the Gunbuster to do battle. And it's got the most incredible firepower. It's ridiculous, right? It's over the top ridiculous. It's supposed to be. And that's what Gunbuster's very unusual at. It's part comedy, part mecha show, part hardcore fucking science fiction. Like real science fiction dealing with crazy concepts. Do you mind if I kind of tell you something about Gunbuster? Okay, if you don't want to hear anything, just get past the Gunbuster part so I don't ruin it for you. Because this makes the anime, and I want to talk about it right now. I really want to talk about it. The Gunbuster itself is... They want to send it right into the heart of the alien infestation that's coming to destroy us. And it travels a certain speed, in light speed or whatever. And it's like all the Einstein theories that the faster you go, you stay the same age, but the Earth, hundreds of years go by. So what happens is the girls decide to use the Gunbuster robot to go to the center of the universe. And meanwhile, everybody's telling them not to, because like hundreds of years will pass on Earth by the time they make it back. So they go, they detonate a couple of the generators on the Gunbuster in the center, and they're able to escape, and they get back to Earth. But here is the part that fucked me up, and I get shivers from this one too. I really do. By the time it takes them to get back to Earth, it wasn't like 10 years passed or a couple hundred years passed. Like 1,000+ years passed. 1,000 to 2,000 years. I'm trying to remember which about, but it was in the thousands. It was an insane amount. And all of a sudden, oh my God, this scene is nuts. The Gunbuster just comes into the horizon of the Earth, and you see the Earth, and the Earth is just completely in darkness. And they're like, oh my God, like, is anybody even alive anymore? Is the Earth gone extinct? Thousands of years have passed. Like, you know? And even as the audience, you're like, what has happened to the Earth? What is going on? And then the most fucking eerie thing in the world happens. All of a sudden, lights start shining all over the Earth to make a sign that says, like, welcome home. And it's really weird, and some of the lettering is backwards. It's fucked up. It's like they kind of came to a very advanced human race culture that they never show. It just goes to black after that. And that's how it ends. It's Gunbuster. We're into the spoilers now. We're putting this away. But that's what cemented Gunbuster as one of my top 10, top 20 animes of all time for the way it ended. It was so epic. Sorry to go on about that one. That is the one that gets me the most. Now, how do you top all of these? You really don't, but you can with Zero One. Now, I first saw this in a comic book store, I think in 1987. And I saw books on it. There was no anime. It's funny that we take for granted all the anime we get in this country now, translated. But I bought the books, and I was looking through the books, and it was kind of edgy, man. I was like, oh my, the blood and guts and gore in Zero One were fucking over the top for a young kid. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And there was like lesbian fucking sex scenes in it, and I'm like, what the fuck? Now, to hold back here, this is not a hentai anime. This is a hardcore, that's not sounding bad, a hardcore sci-fi mecha anime. But some of the characters were they were all females. And so there's a lot of lesbian stuff going on in the ranks. And, oh, also the girls fly the mechas, the mech suits, naked. Their partners do. It's really a lot of funny stuff going on in Zero One, but it's also a hardcore, there I go again, hardcore story of an alien invasion on Earth, and the entire human race is wiped out and turned into these really creepy aliens, and it, like, you know, when you get taken over, your eyeballs pop out, your skin rips off, and these aliens come out of you. And Zero One, there's a long story here. The big bad guy of it is Big Gold, and which is, you find out, is a. Should I be saying all this stuff? It's because it's record. Anyways, just check it out. It's really gory. It's light hentai. It's nothing that bad. It's nothing nothing hardcore. It's not that bad, but a very, very good story. Like some real twists and turns. Here's an anime that I think is one of the funniest animes I have ever seen in my entire life besides Ping Pong Club. And that is Golden Boy. Have any of you guys ever heard of Golden Boy? What a great, great show. The first episode is it's about this young guy who he likes to study and understand culture and people and how they get along. And it's about him going to work at a software company, and he's never worked at a software company before. And it's funny. I've got a job at a software company, and I'd never worked on a computer before. I kind of conned my way in the same way he did. And there's this one scene, man. It's the funniest scene in the whole fucking thing, where he's sitting, and he's got to this great moment when he's going to show his computer skills to all these women in the office in the software company. And this character is such a bumbling fool. It's just supposed to make him so funny. And he thinks back to all the hardcore nights when he was in the darkness with just a candle, and he would practice pressing cardboard buttons on this, fake keyboard he had made out of cardboard and paper and stuff like that. And he's like, now's the time. I've waited for this moment my entire life. Now I can show them my true computing skills. And he goes to show them, and like fucking nothing happens, and it's really embarrassing. And they just think he's the biggest idiot ever. And yeah, and every episode is kind of like that. It's an OVA series, very funny, very ecchi in a lot of ways. But I highly recommend Golden Boy if you really want a good laugh. I have a couple of Golden Boy cells, which is kind of pretty cool as well. Now, there is so much anime to recommend. Escaflowne, Trigun, Nadia, never mind Studio Ghibli films, and Patlabor, and oh my god, the list goes on. Evangelion. I can't list it all, but I just wanted to talk about a few animes that really made a big impact on me in my life. Sorry it's been such a long video. People have asked me to do it for a long time, and obviously I couldn't show footage of the anime. I'd be flagged the fuck off YouTube in 10 seconds. So, anyways, guys, I hope you guys kind of got some anime recommendations out of this huge big pile. So, anyways, guys, until next time.